Having played so many roles and risen through the career, what is it, some of your exciting milestones and your fundamental beliefs? I think, what is that message to the women out here? Yes.
Hello. Actually, I'd like to give the message a little later, but suffice it to say that I'm talking of the period between 1962 to 1965 when I was taking up my graduation here at Osmania University Women's College. And I was determined to have a career of my own. So I think the first thought which came to me, if you see the entire spora of the work situation, there were hardly women working there. There were hardly women. There were very few of them. Either they were in the teaching area or some of them were wanting to become doctors, but women as such in the corporate world were hardly there, not there at all. So I realized the first, I mean, since you talked of the word, you talked of fundamental beliefs or your own, is that you need to work very hard. I told myself there's not going to be a shortcut path for you. You've got to be determined to work hard. And what I'd like to tell you is my graduation course, which in the end I was fortunate enough to get a gold medal from was because I revised my syllabus more than 12 times over and over again. That was the type of hard work I wanted. At the same time, so hard work was one. The other one was that since in extracurricular activities I had done very well on debates, on other fora, elocution competitions, had the state championships. But somehow or the other, I felt at that time that I should not let any kind of pride or arrogance come to me because it would not do me well in my own career. See, as it is, people were not used to seeing a woman, and here you are coming up and talking about. So humility became another very important part of my own self, and I realized, let's talk less. The other thing, and when I talk of and the other thing I realized was that, you can't be having it all the way you want it. It's not going to be easy. And so the thing was that sometime internal me is that when you want something, I told myself, you've got to give up something. That was an internal trait I had, that you need to give up if you want something. It was very strange, that when we see girls today, young women working, and that's right, be smart, be good, be well-dressed, be, the latest. But in those days, it was different. And I remember once the doctor told me in 1986 that now you need specs, but, you can just put it on when you are reading something. And I said, no, I'm going to wear it all the time. I should not look smart. I should not look... You get my point. The whole thinking was so different that you should not make a mark for yourself if you've made it good. So these are the type of things, and of course your own spiritual values came your way. And so it was like hard work, and everybody said that when we started the work that, as a woman, if you need to really do well, you've got to work 2 times that of a man. I don't think they say that nowadays, do they? If you have to be a woman and need to be recognized, you'll have to work double up than a man would be able to do. So this constant thing was on your mind to say that you do your best, you measure yourself before somebody else measures you. That was the inner trait, and see that you really come out well in what you do.
Thank you so much. And Harichandana, this is for you. I think a very opposite perspective, which I would expect with 10 years of Harichandana being in service and being a gold medalist. So you have fought all odds in life, right? And it was a very tough journey the last 10 years, and you have a very great vision. So what is it that you really bring to the table over the last 10 years, and how have you been able to fight your odds?
Good evening, everyone. So very interesting thoughts from... I wouldn't say that a lot has changed over the years. I would agree with her on some aspects. There's still a lot of ground which needs to be covered, as I'm sure all the women sitting here would agree with me, whoever works, that we still need to prove ourselves. Initially, there would be a lot of, I would say this was a part of my career also, that there would be comments like, she's a woman. Maybe not from really your seniors or your compatriots, but from the general public. Or they would think, okay, we can take some level of liberties being a woman officer. So these kind of things are there. We have to battle them daily, and we also have to consistently prove that we are better. That standard of society is still there. But over the years, I have realized one thing as a woman, that you don't need to prove yourself to anybody else. You need to prove yourself to the standards that you set for yourself, the goals that you set. Then you will be in a happy place. There's no standard that you have to meet. If you want to work to your best of your abilities. If you want to take a break, please do. That's something which all of us need to realize and be confident. Only when you are confident in your space and you respect yourself, then the respect comes from the others. So that is my
Have you taken your break with your 2-year-old son now?
I 2-year-old daughter, and yes, I did take a 6.5-month break. Then I'm kind of a workaholic, so I did miss my work after a while, so I came back. But luckily, I have a lot of family support, and I would say that is very important to today's woman. And especially support from your spouses. So all the men out there, go and support your wives, then I'm sure it will be much more equal world.
Thank you. Jayesh, this is for you. I think over the last 15 years of your service, and you have been inspiring many women, and I've seen that. So what is the way you have been mentoring and inspiring various women in your walks of life over the last decade?
Good evening and thank you. Also my apologies for gate crashing into this panel. I was not supposed to be here. But thank you for your flexibility, your accommodation. Only a woman would have permitted such a thing.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. So whatever I do, for instance, I'm behind lots of initiatives. For instance, there are some programs which are happening for the first time ever in the country here in Telangana. Like we have a dedicated incubator for women entrepreneurs. It is called V-Hub. We are very aggressively promoting STEM programs for girls and women, etc., etc. But some of the main reason, the main driver why I support all these kind of initiatives, I must confess that we owe a lot to women, and I have seen in my own personal life, right from my childhood, my mother has been a very strong woman. She has supported a family. Her her father passed away very early, and she had younger siblings, 3 of them. Her brother, I don't mind sharing it in public. Her own brother, who is elder to her, who was also employed and working, he chose not to kind of put money for the rest of the family members, but my mother did that. And I've been impressed by all these things which I've seen personally in my life. And I think that we owe a lot to them, while we also know that there are very inspiring women and who remain strong and who are able to kind of find their way. But there are an equally large number of women, in fact, many, many more number of women who are kind of suppressed, who are subjugated, who are forced to do things against their wishes. And it's happening all around us even now. So as a sense of gratitude and a kind of a sense of respect that whatever they have done for us, someone needs to kind of stand up for them. I do that in my whatever work opportunities I get, and wherever in a personal capacity, if I have to help someone, I do that. Nothing more than that.
Wonderful. That's so good to hear. I think if you look around, I'm sure you'll find that respect, right? You'll find those role models, mentors who are there for you, and you're blessed to be in a country like this. So over to you, ma'am, DCP ma'am. So when I was talking to ma'am, she joined the police services just 15 years back. And if you look at her, she got married, she had children, and she joined 15 years of police service. So what is it that really triggered you to join the police services, ma'am?
Everybody thinks that it is the uniform which attracts anybody to the department, but it is not so. My decision for joining this department was that I wanted to do something for safety and security. And seeing that law and order is a very important subject, and if there is law and order and peace in society, there will be a lot of development. Economic development is possible only when there is peace in society. So I thought that I should join the police force and contribute my whatever capacity, whatever to my capacity, and see that there is peace in society. And coming into the women wing, now I feel that safety and security of women and children are the priority subjects. I'm very happy that I'm working in this field. And because when we ensure safety and security of women, we ensure the safety and security of the entire society. So that is a very satisfying job I'm doing, and I'm very proud of being in the police department because of that.
Excellent. Wow. That's a great perspective, right? So all of us can chase our dreams in today. Purnima, this is a question to you, and you come from a complete diverse background of being sales and marketing in the healthcare pharma industry. And sales and marketing is not many people take into, right? Getting from a agent to a pharma industry to into healthcare. So what has your journey been like over the last 20 years?
It's a journey where none of females would opt to, or male-dominated rather, I tell. This is whole because when I've come from a conservative family wherein which the education for a female is not been given a prominence. And then those days where my mother told we have to achieve something, where we have to get the identity in the society, and where we are three girls, wherein which my mother used to motivate and tell us like you have to get a space and identity for yourself and look for yourself where you have to stand on your own. So that made me to upbring myself on my own. That's how it is, the journey all about. And during the graduation days, there's a situation which has come wherein which I have to sponsor my own education, wherein which we are looking out of my master's which has to be done. Those days we were looking for, and the opportunity has come to me from pharma industry, wherein which they are looking out for medical team representatives those days. Then many of them have suggested, being the female, why are you opting this as a future for you? Those days I thought that conviction is one, and if you are creative and your communication is good and you have control of what you are going to do, that brings you and that shows you the way, and that's going to be the future way for you. That's how it has made me to come to this profession. And wherever the roles I've played, I've started as a simple medical rep, then I've come to product executive, assistant product executive, product manager, marketing head, group head, and today I'm heading the sales and profession marketing, wherein which the women are into.
Amazing. I think the never give up attitude really shows, right? Keep it going. And Ranjana, this is for you. Clearly you have faced many stories and many challenges at workplace professionally. And there were times when you asked for a transfer of a job, which usually happens in a bank when you're going through personal struggles. There was a time where you were given hard messages. Can you share some of those experiences, stories, and all of us face that with our bosses and with our ecosystem, right? How did you deal with it?
I'll take a little while for this. Yeah, this is something, in the banks in those days, I'm talking of the, 70s, and women were not being transferred. Women were not being transferred. And what I had done, even though we were kept in the vicinity of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, I saw to it, and that was extremely necessary, that I kind of make myself not really to upgrade my skills and see that I work not just in one mundane department like deposits or something, but get to know something on foreign exchange, on credit, on various other parts of banking, so that you make yourself a person who is responsible and dependable and is able to fit into any responsibility. But when this transfer came, it was very sudden. It came for about 3 women across the country, and senior of us. And at that time, my daughter, of course, had come to her intermediate, but my son was still in the 8th grade. Transfer was not a thing which was being done in society, in our society. That was working itself was a big thing. I'm talking this about the mid-80s. And I remember at that time, I was very fond of my job. I just loved my work. I was able to balance both home and this way, worked really hard because there was no other choice, and become flexible, no grumbling. But transfer would put me off because it was a different city altogether. And so at that time when I took some leave for about 3 months, what was eligible for me, then I thought it would not be right. And somebody suggested, why don't you go to head office? Because you've got such an excellent track record. You worked as branch manager with 3 branches and handled all different things. So maybe they would give you another year more to be here for you to settle down. So I went there, and right up the level of the executive director of the bank, they knew me. So then my track record, he said it shouldn't be a problem. But we had a new chairman at that time, a person who came. And so he had insisted, and I was, a middle-level officer. They said, no, his permission should be sought. And I want to relate this to you because this will teach you many things. Now, before leaving Hyderabad to go to Bombay, where the head office was, I had already typed, with a very heavy heart, had typed my resignation. I didn't want to resign. I should not resign. I was capable for much more. But then when I went there, and I got this good feeling up to the executive director, but when I go to the chairman office, it's on the 14th floor, chairman of Bank of India, big man, very important person, and you have this huge table. And as soon as I enter the room, I'm asked to enter, he came from the side room, and he took off his coat. He didn't see me, he didn't wish me, he didn't allow me to wish him, and just kept it on the chair, swung the chair around, all physical gestures. You know what you feel? You get a little overawed at that time. He swung the chair around, and he sat down to do some work. I was not at all even being looked at. And then suddenly he looked up and said, yes. And I said, sir, I'm Mrs. Kumar, this is my file. What is it? And I said, sir, I'm requesting for a retention of a year because my children. Why don't you resign? I was totally taken aback. I said, and and let me tell you, as an individual, whether I mean, basically a person submissive by nature. I was not that kind of a violent. Now, I don't know what happened at that time to me. I just fought back and said, sir, I have not joined the bank to resign. I said that, and I knew no, he didn't stop there. When I said I didn't join the bank to resign, he said, in that case, we will see that your services are terminated. And he took this file of mine, which was there on his table, which he had not even bothered to open to see what was my track record in these last 20 years I was there. And he throws that file. There are 2 files on the table of a chairman. One is the incoming mail and one is the outgoing mail. And it falls, and he wants to put it in the outgoing mail. And my file drops down. And I see myself on the ground. After so many years of hard work, I, who had already given my typed my resignation in my husband's office, I said, keep it here. Suddenly, that thing came to my mind and I just turned away and walked out. And I must have looked aside because all those people in the chairman's secretariat who since I was one of the performing managers, we used to come, and they rushed to me and said, are you all right? I must have looked aghast, I'm all right. I came down the 14th floor, and the only thought came in my mind was, if I resign, it should be my decision. Until I decided, and suddenly there was this total change. And I walked back, and fortunately, and that's very important, my husband was totally with me in this. We had not planned how we would manage the house, how would children, what would happen. There was no time because we were under the impression we'll get there. And the next day he booked me to the place I was to go. He said, you just take the first flight. And since there is an All India club in Hyderabad, and there he booked me in that branch of that club so that you can go and sing. And it's not only that, I went and joined and started. But that led to a lot of other things. I used to go every week by bus. I couldn't have afforded a flight. There were not so many flights. I used to go every evening at 5 o'clock bus, and then come here in the morning at 4:30, stay with the family, work, build up the children. Write a letter every day to my children, an inland letter, every day, where I gave a very happy picture about me. I never said, Mummy is missing you, this is happening. I believe you should never do that. Let them know that you are happy wherever you are. Of course, you miss them. But So that feeling, you should never give out. And those days there were no cell phones, nothing. So it was a very, very difficult situation. It carried on like this for almost 3 years. And, and the month after that, I remember, it completed 3 years. I was going in the bus. There was a head-on collision. There was an accident. 5 people died in that. I was thrown out 14 feet. I survived and came back to the job, did not want to ask. Now, what I want to tell you, there's a long story behind it. From that time, my career just went zoom, up, and that was what it was. Because then, so many positions. But what I want to tell you is that then, I went abroad for 3 years there. She just mentioned everything. When came back and I was asked, I joined Canara Bank as executive director and was asked to hold charge as chairman. And one day when I was sitting there, it was hardly 3 months I had gone, I get a card which comes to me, to somebody to see me. And who is that? He's the same chairman who, and at that time, I said, ha! I said, God, you're great. And I said, let the guy wait for 10 minutes. And, he walks, and I said, "Theek hai, let him." He walks into my room and says, "Ranjana, I'm so proud of you." Ranjana, I never liked anybody calling me by my first name. I was too orthodox for that. And he tells his wife, "Did I not tell you about her? She's the first woman chairman of the bank. We are all so proud of her." Anyway, courtesy demanded I give him some coffee here for what he had wanted, something. I don't know if I did it or not. But anyway, that part. Then again, after he goes away, I felt so bad. Why the hell didn't I talk to him? Why the hell did I not bring up that point? I hated myself for that. From there, I went to Indian Bank. You won't believe it, he came there also. And I said, this time I will do it. Now, why I'm telling you this in detail? And finally, he came at NABARD when I was there because he wanted some license for his wife, for an NGO or something like that. And then I realized, what I realized? And that's the learning part. I said, look, to be very fair, I had already drafted my resignation from the bank before coming. I had drafted my resignation. Mentally, I was almost 65% prepared that I would have to leave. And here, it was him who has generated that thing with me, brought out that potential lying latent in me that, what the hell, how could you give up the job? So I need to thank him for it, actually.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. That was very, very inspirational. And I'm sure each one of us have those goosebumps with us, right? We all would really appreciate for sharing that. And it comes with a lot of simplicity, and you put it across with a lot of achievement. And I think, thank you so much for sharing that, Ranjana. So just taking on from the perspective of Harichandana ma'am, and there were times you worked with the tribals. You worked in completely a man's world, right? And she was almost to be, I would say, kidnapped, right? And it is very difficult to work. And clearly, all of us work in a very environment which there's a lot of risks. And in a man's world, how did you overcome those? Maybe if you could share one of your experiences and when you were working with the tribals and in that area.
This was in Visakhapatnam, where I was a assistant collector. We were under training. So one of the components of our training is that we have to spend time in villages, in tribal areas. And so I was posted to Paderu for a month. And as a part of our routine, we are supposed to go and be village officers. So we need to learn how the administration works from the bottom up. So I did go to the village very sincerely, and I sat there and started looking at the records and things like that. Then suddenly there was the district SP had come over to that place. So he said, you just come out, we have to move out from this area. So I said, I'm posted here, I'm supposed to stay here. I didn't realize that the implications of being in that place at that time. See, he said, let's not discuss right now, you just come over and then we will see what is to be done. So I just moved to the Mandal headquarters. And then after that, he said, you can go back after a few days because there's some movement in that area and you were almost, there was news that you would be kidnapped. So I didn't realize it till then, but then it made me realize the challenges and the risks that I'm taking in my job. And it made me ponder, is this what I really want in my job? But then I spent 1 month with the tribals, and I think that was the best time of my life. I had spent my childhood also in tribal areas, so I know their problems. They're very simple people, simple needs. So sometimes we think we complicate our own lives with so much of thinking, and I want to be this, I want to be that. I see myself 20 years down the lane there. But tribals just look at where their next meal is coming from and they're just happy with what they have today. So that made me realize a different perspective to life. So I would say it was challenging. It was a little frightening that as a woman I did go there and stay there. But ultimately my learning made up for it. So I, like Ranjana said, somewhere at that point of time, it looks difficult for all the women out there. There are a lot of times where you are feeling you're going through a really damn tough time. But then what happens if you just sustain it out after a month or after a few days is what gives you that perspective and that learning in life. So if you can bear with it, being patient really helps in some aspects. Later on, when you reflect on some decisions or some things which happened, then you would feel, yes, because I sustained myself through this, I am a better person. I've learned this lesson of life. So that is very important, I think, and that keeps me going. After that, no challenge is too big. When I joined my posting also, I had a really tough time. It was just a week into my first posting as sub-collector, and there was a shootout. A police inspector had just gone and shot a bunch of people into a crowd, and I was supposed to be the sub-divisional magistrate, so I went there, and I just ended up in the middle of a mob, literally. They had sticks, they had stones, they were pelting the police station, and I just walked into the middle of it. So I could have run back. But then I realized if I do that, it will be utter lawlessness. So I just started talking to those women. I didn't know what was, for 5 minutes I was blank. But then I realized, okay, let me go and try calming them down. Let me see what happens. And then I just walked into the crowd. There were a lot of women sitting there, the village women there. So I started talking to them. I started understanding why the situation went so wrong. And over a period of time, these people saw this officer talking to these women, trying to listen to them. So that's when they calmed down. That's when all the police force also moved in, and then there was a lot of help which had arrived by that point of time. So that's what I'm saying. A situation is never bad till you make it bad. You have to probably go through it, try to see how you can deal with it, and then later on you'll realize. I didn't realize that I had, at that point of time, I don't think, they would say you were gutsy to walk in, but I said, I didn't, it was my job, I had to go and do it. So that's how things pan out, so we all have to take it like that. And once you sustain something, once you are there, once you say, okay, I'm going to see this through, I think you'll move forward.
Wow, she spoke with so much balance and poise. I think the experience she had would have been very demanding for her to think also on her feet, right? Thank you so much. And Jayesh, this is for you, and question to you is...
No, Pratyusha, before you ask anything, let me share a nugget of information about Harichandana. While she avoided being kidnapped, her father was actually kidnapped. Her father is a civil servant, and in 1987, when he was working in a tribal area, he was kidnapped. So she's smarter than her father.
Amazing, the next generation women, right?
Sir, I should thank the police officers. The SP was smart. So, sir.
Wonderful, that's very nice. Jayesh, there's a question to you, and somebody asked me this question. Do more women folk should join the government? If so, why?
So, see, there's a very strong evidence now, and it has been taken, this evidence is gathered in multiple contexts, multiple work contexts, and the evidence very strongly points out that if women are part of work, actually I was told about this, I actually learnt about this in a session here only, about 2 years ago, in November 2017. We had hosted the Global Entrepreneurship Summit here, where the focus was on women first, prosperity for all. So in one of the sessions, someone was speaking about it, and when you have asked this, I certainly recall this. The speaker was mentioning that this evidence was collected across multiple work contexts, and they found that wherever women participation was 50% or more than 50% in that office or in that sector or in that unit, 3 benefits came to the organization or to the stakeholders or to the recipients or whatever. So benefit 1 was that decisions were more people-oriented rather than, lots of decisions are taken which are not very objective. You do it for some vested interest. But if women are involved in work, decisions become more people-oriented. So they have a more pro-people, pro-human, they take a more humane kind of a perspective. The second is that the second benefit which they found was that these decisions, even if they look to be suboptimal in the short run, in the long run, they turn out to be the right decisions and they yield better results. So they have a long-term kind of a sense in them. And there was a third thing also, which I'm not able to recall precisely, but the fact that just adding more and more women to the workforce, if there are 30, and that person had given a very detailed statistical analysis that in some organizations where the percentage was only 20%, they were deficient in these ways. When it became 40%, it improved in this way. When it touched 50%, it improved further. So it's a no-brainer now that the more women there are in the organization, in the workforce, the better is the quality of decision making, the reach of that decision making, the longevity of that decision, and so on and so forth. So just for the objective reasons alone, we should promote more and more women to join the workforce. But as we know, sadly, there are lots of barriers against it also. And it is our collective responsibility to work in pulling down those barriers.
Wow, excellent. So let's chase our dreams and never give up with Jayesh's message. DCP ma'am, this is for you. DCP Anasuya ma'am, every day has been a very unpredictable challenge, right? Every day is a new day for us when we get up in the morning. How do you really minimize the unknown and the unpredictability, and how do you deal with it on a day-to-day basis in your workplace?
So as far as crime is concerned, the methods of committing the crime have changed, but the basic nature of crime has not changed. So we address this in our daily lives, and we try to bring out innovative ways in which to deal with these crimes. Like a few years back, we never had this white-collar crime or the multi-level marketing type of crimes. Now we are focusing more on these kind of crimes, and we are trying to minimize these crimes. And we are doing more of awareness programs, bringing in awareness among the people how to be safe from these kind of frauds and conning ways of the criminals. And as far as crime against women and children are concerned, we are doing a lot of things like Telangana government has brought in the concept of she teams. And in Cyberabad Police, we are doing much more. We are going a step ahead where crime against women is concerned, and children also. So we are focusing on both aspects. And we are doing this, for children, we have started the Operation Smile. Somebody was talking in the earlier session that what about children begging on the streets, and they wanted to reach out to the police. So actually it is an initiative only of the Cyberabad Police, That's why you might not have heard about it somewhere else. And we are giving out these cautions on the traffic junctions also, telling everyone that they have to report child begging. And wherever you see any child begging or any child just roaming around like a vagabond, and we are giving out the number on which you have to reach out to us. So that number is 790-111-5474. If you all can note down that number, you can reach out to us and tell us that there is a child begging on the road, or a child, missing child, or a child who is looking lost. The number is 790-111-5474. And so far we have rescued around 300, more than 300 children in Operation Smile. And most of these children are still in the rescue homes, shelter homes. They are going to school. We are focusing more on children below 14 years. We are rescuing them from child labor also. And recently on 1st of January, we rescued around 18 children from the Kalvari temple, that is in Mayapur. It is in Mayapur. We rescued these children, and the parents and their own caretakers were using these children for begging. They were using some bandages and poured some sauce on the bandages and showing that the child was really ill or sick or suffering from some kind of wounds. So these are the kind of techniques people are using to use children for begging. And later on, we rescued some 32 children from a brick kiln in Shankarpalli also. These children were being used in the brick kilns for child labor, and all children below 14 years are the focus of our Operation Smile. Because as per the Right to Education Act, all children below 14 years are to be given compulsory and free education. And no child should be used in any kind of labor work, including domestic labor. We have rescued a few children from domestic labor also. They were being used in the house for doing domestic work. So that is also prohibited as per law. Then the other step we are taking up is regarding child sexual abuse and bringing it to the notice of the police through the SHE teams. So we are going to launch it the day after tomorrow. It is a very unique concept. We are inviting one school teacher or a counselor, if the counselor is available in the school. We are inviting them. We have identified around 1,500 to 1,600 teachers, and we are going to identify them as a Bala Mitra. So the teacher will be a male or a female, because child sexual abuse happens to a girl or a boy. So they will create the confidence in the children to come out and tell them about any kind of abuse. It may be sexual abuse or any other kind of abuse. And the teacher will recognize that the child has been abused and immediately get in touch with us. That will be through the SHE teams. We have 8 teams all over Hyderabad area. So through the SHE teams, we are planning on bringing in this kind of help to the children also, and creating more awareness. The more the awareness, the more the crime gets reduced. So if the child is aware that this is a good touch or this is a bad touch, the child will immediately understand what is happening to him or her, and he will come and or she will come and inform us. And by creating awareness, immediately the child will know that this is something wrong happening to him or her, and she will say no immediately. So this is how we can reduce the percentage of crime. And with regard to women also, we are doing a lot of awareness programs through SHE teams and telling women that they should come out immediately and report to us and not wait till they are really frustrated and they're at the end of their wits. As soon as something wrong happens to them, they should immediately come to us. We have lots of ways in which you can reach out to us. We have, like Swati Lakra madam said, we have the Twitter, we have the WhatsApp numbers. You can directly walk in nowadays. Many women are coming in and directly coming to us, and they are relating their problems to us, and we are ensuring that their problems are solved. And as they are requesting, as per their request, that their name should not come out anywhere, they should not be sent to the police station. So we are all taking care of all those kinds of concerns the women are having. and we are dealing with their problems in a very, very confidential way. And we also have the Bharosa Center of Cyberabad Police, where we are sending them for any kind of psychological counseling they need, whether it is in the field of domestic violence or any kind of relationship problems. And you will not believe me, there are men also walking into our Bharosa Center requesting help with their families. So I'm very, very happy about men also coming out and requesting. Not only we are not talking about only women, we are talking about men also. So we have seen men coming in through the she teams also. Recently there was a man from the IT industry who said he was being stalked by a woman colleague, and he came to us and he said, Madam, I am a happily married man, and this lady is stalking me. She is telling everybody that she wants to marry me, she is in love with me. I don't know, this is disturbing my life, and my wife is also getting very harassed because of her. Then we called the lady and we counseled that lady. We called her parents also and told them that this is not the way, he is a married man, and we solved the problem. And she was she realized that she is doing something wrong, and then she accepted and she apologized to that person. So it is not just the women who are facing a lot of harassment, there are men also. And they should, anybody who is facing any kind of problem, they should feel free to come out and talk to the police. They can go to the police station. Police are also very friendly. They are not the type of people you see in the movies, and they are very, very people friendly, and they will definitely listen to you. It is not just the she teams. It is every police station is people friendly. You can walk in the police station. If you are not feeling comfortable talking to the male police person there, you can always talk to the receptionist. There is a woman receptionist in every police station. And police station is a place where you should go when you are in trouble and utilize the service just as you are utilizing the services of the revenue department or the municipal corporation or anything. The police department is also a service department where it is made for solving the problems of the people.
Wow, that's so much of a determination and a passion, right? I don't think Anasuya ma'am ever sleeps, and every day she's thinking on her feet how to minimize the unknown. But I'm sure every day she comes with a new case and a new problem, and it's not easy for her. So it really gives me the confidence I can achieve more, today at least.
Let me add one more point I forgot. It is because of our CP, VC Sajanar sir, who is taking lead in doing all these things. It is his initiatives that we are taking them forward.
Ranjana would like to have a
So many youngsters
response.
here. I think that was a part of a question as well. You see, there used to be, people used to say, what is that bias which people have for women working, and what is that bias? And you know, one of the things which we discovered early on was that people had that bent of mind, already established mind, that she'll not be able to work professionally. She'll have a problems of the, problems of her home, her children. So that, to accept that was becoming very difficult. And hence they would be given some of the simpler jobs or simpler works. And I'm talking about, 15, 20 years back. So that, and some part of it even persists now, that how much of, now this is a two-way thing. One is we need to become, as women, as career-minded women, we need to become very, very professional in our work. Keep your home problems at homes. Don't bring them to work. Don't be asking for time off. I need to go. Exceptional cases are different, but you shouldn't come with that, because even if though a man, he may have things, and I'm not comparing, I have one here, so I shouldn't be saying, but there are times it's a given thing. For example, I remember when we joined, I had 3 other men with us, and he would go out for a smoke for some time and then come back. So I said, who's going to make up that? So that is one thing I want to tell you. You've got to prove yourself that you can do it professionally. There was one small incident I'd like to share with you. See, we had one very typical problem with the unions, In those days, unions were very, very strong, both the award staff, there's the clerical staff, there's also the officer staff. The unions used to be very, and they knew, you know, when I was heading that branch as a branch manager, it was an exceptionally large branch, which was 130 people. They knew that madam would have to go home, and I would leave around 7 o'clock. So they purposely kept the meeting late, that let's go on, let's try on her nerves and all that. And I remember, and one of them would always be smoking, you know, because he was getting strength by that smoke. You should understand your opponent at times. His whole strength was in that smoke. And I told him, you know, can you excuse me? I have a little problem with my throat. Can you just put that cigarette outside and come? And you can understand that's going to take off all his energy when he's going to be coming. These are all psychological factors which you have to play on. And then when he comes and then he starts talking, and then he said, every time they say, madam, I think it must be getting late for you. I think it must be getting late. I said, not at all. Everything is fine at home. Nothing is late for me. You carry on. Then when they tested my patience, then I said, finally I said, look, now you listen to me. At home, I am able to manage with 3 mothers-in-law. Now you ask me how 3? My husband's mother, my real mother-in-law, his aunt-in-law, and grandmother was also alive. So I said, what are you before me? Nothing. So my question is, now this does not require any PhD or MSc qualifications. Psychological, you should understand how thing is. And immediately, you know, that thing goes down. So you have to play with all types of weapons you have. That's not the only one.
Thank you so much. I'll just take a next 1 minute for a quick rapid fire. And if any one of you all have questions, please post it on the app, and I would like to share it with the eminent panelist over email or somewhere you could respond. And I think we'll make that best utilize of the time. So Harichandana, what does success mean to you?
More responsibility.
Wonderful. Jayesh, this is a question to you. It's a rapid fire, so you can answer it fast. What is a significant barrier to female leadership?
Again, it is
It's
the
a
men.
tough one, but I thought I'll ask you.
It's a man's ego. He is not ready to accept a woman.
Thank you, amazing. DCP ma'am, what is the one behavior one should take back and never forget to exhibit? What's that one behavior?
Confidence in oneself.
Awesome, thank you ma'am. Ranjana, this is for you. What's the biggest challenge for the next generation women? What they're going to see?
Next generation, biggest challenge for a working woman, is that what you're coming to?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think the next generation for a working woman, the challenge will not be so much of competence. It will be how you manage your life at home, how you need to have a supportive spouse, you need to, because there'll be very long working hours, there'll be a lot of travel involved if you need to go up the ladder. So I think competence, you'll already be there with it, and I'm sure you know how to upgrade your skills, and I'm not talking of that. But yes, definitely, you need to have a supportive spouse, you need to have your house in order, because that's going to be your greatest fillip, that's going to be your greatest. And that, a lot depends on you also, patience, understanding.
Thank
and
you.
help, and being on. And let me tell you one thing, a woman always has a greater capacity to work than a man. So if you do extra work than the husband, I remember IIM Bangalore, once they asked me, they said, madam, he should do 50%, I should do 50%. It doesn't work that way. And if you have to do more, don't say poor me and don't start. No, you have it in you. You have the greater potential. Why don't you understand? You should be happy. So doing more work, taking more responsibility, you should be very happy that God has made you like that. And I'm not trying to belittle the man, not at all. But men are very simple people, you know. They're nice. They're nice. They need the support of the woman. They're nice, you know. So after some time, you have to say, you're looking good. You've got time for that. Going out somewhere, get a gift for him. He'll also get for you. But if he forgets, doesn't matter. You should not. And look at your best. And look, go out with him, look very smart, good chick. Even if you work the whole day, doesn't matter. Because, you know, men have, and I'll finish on that, men do have a roving eye.
No challenges.
Don't tell me I didn't warn you.
Thank you. So one last question to Purnima. What are you really afraid of?
As of there's no such fear. If once the female starts fearing, I don't appreciate, and I don't think so. It's like courtesy is one wherein which it can touch any female. Apart from that, I don't think so. If any female doesn't want to fear of, will be like this, wherein which they have their own eminent career which they have been brought up. So it's like courtesy, or what do you say, soft corner of a woman, which can be or could be. Yes, Pran.
Great.
Or else nobody can
Thank you.
get the women influenced apart from this.
I think clearly the whole brief discussion is be fearless, be confident, be true to yourself, don't give up, right? And I've been hearing these messages from morning, but it's just the hope that achievers like this from different walks of life have really made it. And it's not that all of us in the room have not achieved. There's still more. We have our goals to really chase. I think all of us aim for the moon. Don't worry, you'll hit a star on the way, right? So all of us, let's go find the moon and then we'll hit some stars, right? So wishing you all a great evening and hope you enjoyed the session.